I will now call this meeting to order. We do have a quorum. I will identify closed session topics. Closed session topics are recommended suspended expulsions, recommended reinstatements, public employee assignment, reassignment, appointment, public employee discipline, dismissal, release, complaints, conference with labor negotiator, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, and anticipated litigation. Is there any public comment on closed session topics? Seeing none, we'll adjourn to closed session. We'll convene our regular session. Welcome. So our next item on the agenda is we'll introduce the interpreter. Adam Avalos will serve as a Spanish interpreter for tonight's meeting. Meeting attendees who would like to listen to the Spanish interpretation of the meeting, please pick up headphones from the table located in the back of this meeting room. This announcement will now be shared in Spanish.
Adam Ábalos servirá como el intérprete de español para esta reunión. Invitamos a los asistentes de la reunión que deseen escuchar la interpretación al español, el ir por audífonos a la mesa ubicada al fondo de esta sala de reuniones.
This meeting is being webcast live and recorded. The meeting or webcast may capture images, sounds of those attending the meeting. Any member of the public wanting to provide public comment on items on tonight's agenda, please fill out the public comments consent form. Public comment form, the green form located on the table in the back of the room. Please hand the completed form to Administrative Assistant Delia Smart before the item comes up on the agenda. Please complete a separate form for each agenda item you'd like to comment on. Ms. Smart is sitting at the table at the back of the room. Members of the public providing public comment, please use the microphone on the stand located in the front of the room. The Pledge of Allegiance will now be led by Board Member Naylor.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now I will report action taken in closed session. In closed session on a motion by Board Member Blair and a second by Board Member Solano, the board agreed by a vote of 7-0 to appoint Amanda Richard to the position of principal at Redwood High School. Amanda Richard has been employed with Visalia Unified School District for 18 years. She currently serves as the principal of La Jolla Middle School. In addition to her current assignment, Ms. Richard also served as the high school assistant principal, middle school assistant principal, interim athletic director, and physical education teacher. Ms. Richard earned a Bachelor of Science in Physical Education from California State University, Fresno, a Master of Arts degree in Education from National University, and a doctoral degree in Organizational Leadership from Brandman University. She also holds a single subject credential of physical education and an administrative services credential. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, congratulations to Ms. Richard. Okay, in closed session on a motion by Board Member Gamonian and a second by Board Member Villegas, the board agreed unanimously by a vote of 7-0 to appoint Leticia Trevino to the position of Director of Early Childhood Education. Leticia Trevino currently works for Cutler Rossi Joint Unified School District as a director. She worked for the Cutler Orosi Joint Unified for 18 years. She served as an elementary school teacher, an elementary assistant principal, a resource teacher, and principal of Golden Valley Elementary. Ms. Trevino holds a Bachelor of Arts in Behavioral Science from National University, a Master of Arts degree in Education from Fresno Pacific University. She holds a multiple subject teaching credential and an administrative services credential. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, congratulations to Mrs. Trevino. In closed session on a motion by Board Member Solano and a second by Board Member Gamonian, the board agreed unanimously by a vote of 7-0 to appoint Terry Martindale to the position of Director of Educational Services. Terry Martindale currently serves at Tulare City School District as Director of Leadership and Support. She has worked for Tulare City School District for 29 years. She served as an elementary school teacher for 10 years, a middle school vice principal for 3 years, an elementary school principal for 11 years, and a middle school principal for 3 years. Ms. Martindale has also served as an adjunct faculty at Fresno Pacific University and National University. Ms. Martindale holds a Bachelor of Arts in Liberal Studies from California State University, Fresno, and a Master of Arts degree in Education from Fresno Pacific University. She also holds a doctoral degree in Educational Leadership and Management from Alliant International University, Fresno. She holds a Reading and Language Arts Specialist credential and an Administrative Services credential. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, congratulations, Ms. Martindale. In closed session on a motion by Board Member Naylor and a second by Board Member Kate Spears Solano, the board agreed unanimously by a vote of 7-0 to appoint Tina Shirley to the position of Director of Special Education. Tina Shirley currently serves as school counselor for Visalia Unified School District. Prior to her current position, Ms. Shirley worked for San Diego County Office of Education, where she served as an instructor for early childhood inclusive services practices, a coordinator of special education, and a director of early education. She also worked as a program manager for 6 years in special education department at USD before moving to San Diego. Prior to her employment with Visalia Unified School District, Ms. Shirley worked for Tulare County Office of Education, where she served as a planning council coordinator for 14 years. Ms. Shirley holds a Bachelor of Arts in Social Work from San Diego State University and a master's degree in social work from California State University, Fresno. She holds a pupil personnel services credential and an administrative services credential. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, congratulations to Ms. Shirley. Tonight, there are revisions to the agenda and or enclosure items. The enclosure numbers are number 11, number 13, 14, 16, 17, and 33. So we'll move on with our agenda. Our next item is enclosure number 1, spotlight on good things happening in the district. Mr. Schrum.
I remembered to turn the microphone on this time, thanks to a nice reminder to the gentleman on my right. So good evening, Mr. President, board members. I'm pleased to be here to present our spotlight on Visalia Unified School District Summer Edition, as I call it. So also tonight, you may notice that we are debuting our new template. And so this is a way to bring some consistency to our board presentations and work to create our Visalia brand. It will, I'm sure, go through multiple revisions, but hope everyone enjoys that and certainly welcome feedback. So another slide you're going to see a lot is really what I kind of call our compass slide, our direction as a district. Now, this slide will continue to grow as a board as we develop our goals and our commitments and our beliefs as a system. They will also emerge here eventually when we engage in the work of developing a strategic plan down the road. Some of those highlights will be here, but this, compass, anchor slide, whatever you want to call it. And so what we do know for this year as we move forward together with clarity, we have identified 4 priorities with which we're doing our work. Be ready, be present, be successful, and be connected. And so you'll hear how this work all connects back to those priorities so that we're transparent with our community, our stakeholders, our students, our parents, our staff on what our priorities are for this year. Our agenda for this presentation, we have a summer learning update, summer division highlights, and also, as I have shared before, an update on my entry plan and progress around the entry plan. So I want to begin with summer learning. And as I talk about this, I want to thank our students. I want to thank our teachers, our summer school administrators. Very robust program this summer. Many more students served than we have in the past. And so I expect that we're going to continue to grow. We will learn from what went well this year, and we will learn from areas we need to improve, especially around communication and timeliness of getting information out to families. And so those are all things that we'll work on as we work to build summer learning for next year, which will start, believe it or not, not too much further down the road. So in elementary summer school, a few highlights just to share. 13 summer school sites, all of our elementary students were invited to participate. I think that's really powerful. We didn't say you can come, you can't, right? Like we opened the doors to everybody. Over 2,500 students were served. Perhaps, to me, some of the enjoyable things about summer is it wasn't just coming and sitting in a desk and having a worksheet, right? It was interactive learning. It was field trips. It was experiments. It was hands-on. And so a lot of times students that come to summer school have recovery that they need to do, right? But they also need learning to be fun. And so that was very much a great job to all the teachers and curriculum team and others that helped plan this experience. Special needs students were served and supported. And also through a partnership with Pro Heart Youth and others, we were able to provide childcare. So if a student, came to maybe half a day of the summer learning, but their parents were working, right? And so otherwise they wouldn't be able to come. They were able to stay for childcare and programming for the day. In addition to other students from our district that access summer daycare, for lack of a better term, right? So that parents could work, but also participated in learning opportunities. All right, there we go. So summer school for middle school, again, was offered at the Visalia. We had multiple students served for several different type programs. So around 700 students served, 200 or so incoming for enrichment. We also had math and ELA support along with special education. And again, also an opportunity for all of these students to attend a field trip at Fresno State. So again, showing as you're coming to summer, some students that may not know that certain things beyond high school are accessible for them. So very much a part of the summer programming is what can we do to expose students to opportunities beyond those that they may think apply to them. And so very excited to see that and also learn a little bit about what college is and how they can join that as well. And then for our high school, we offered it at two sites. You see there El Diamante and Mountain West. So we had over 4,000 students served. We had in-person credit recovery, over 1,600 students. 91% of the kids that attended passed the course and received the credit. So obviously we want to see 100%, but not a bad start with all of the other things that compete for students' interest over the course of summer. We'd also had several thousand students in online ingenuity classes. 82% passed the course. This is much more of an independent course of work with some touch in for the teachers. And so I think you see that reflected in the pass rate. Additional 10 credits for our independent studies. And then again, special education students. And so next I want to tell a little bit about some of the work our divisions have been doing this summer, very much a spotlight on the great work of this school system that works year round. We don't shut down in the summer. We have folks here all year long around working. And so going to go through each of these divisions and share some updated information as well. Of course, this summer for our human resources division, part of their main job, of course, is to recruit employees, fill positions. They have been busy. Many of you are aware we just held a job fair last week. We had hundreds of people. In fact, I pulled up, parking lot was full. People were lined up outside the door. I think it just goes to show there's interest. How do we remove barriers, help them apply online, help them access electronic pieces, all of those sorts of things. But as a quick update from these numbers, they're a few weeks old when we presented the slide, but we have filled 221 certified positions. We have filled 206 classified positions, 65 management positions, and 160 certificated new hires were signed. And as you see on that asterisk there, 42 of our new hires were actually student teachers this past year. I think that is great that they see the value in staying in Visalia Unified. So far, as when we think about starting on day one on August 11th, we have remaining 18 classroom positions that are open. And so we are committed to making sure that those are filled. And so that on day one, August 11th, every classroom has a teacher for the students. And we are well on our way. Also want to shout out our Teachers Association, Education Association, as we talked about, and Mr. Price being here. that we were successful in bargaining agreements, and both of those for both organizations have been passed by this board, and we look forward to continuing positive relationships with our union partners. So educational services, family and community services, this summer, over 238 students participated in arts and STEM and activities at our Family and Community Resource Center. It's open Mondays through Thursdays, so parents and families are able to go and get support. They had nutritional services as well. And our social workers provided workshops during the month of June on emotional strategies, importance of play, and how to help your family manage stress. So again, all the things that we can do as a school system to support our families. Our educational services continue with our special education department, of course, busy with summer extended school year. Several hundred students participated in different types of programs, from credit recovery, learning centers, social emotional week and work programs for applicable students. And the special education department excited to provide extra support to many students this summer through their programs. And again, over 200 students participated in these activities. Our equity and student services this summer, in partnership with local community partners and Family Resource Center, held a summer clothing drive to fill the district clothing closet to help ensure our students are ready for day one. Continue to revise processes to detect early warning signs for our students at risk so that we can identify and provide support. And our Teachers on Special Assignment team provided social emotional activities for summer school teachers to implement during their daily instruction. That's going to be a theme that we continue. We know that we have students and even staff, even maybe some of ourselves, right, that have experienced things during the course of this pandemic. And so what can we do to wrap around support so that they can be successful in accessing instruction? Now, everybody's been busy this summer, but I will say that our operations team really does massive amounts of work in a very short period of time with limited numbers of people. And so when you think about serving 67,000 meals during the summer for our students that were engaged in summer learning projects, and you can see the breakdown there. Transportation, successfully passing their annual certification, right? Inspections, all of those things. Identifying drivers. And when you talk about a lot of red tape, probably for good reasons though, right? There are a lot of things that our drivers have to go through to get certified. And sometimes the timetable of our community partners doesn't support us trying to get drivers on the road for day one. And so transportation team working really hard to develop in-house drivers and get them certified so that they can be the first face that our students see when they get on the bus to come to school. Facilities, continuing to upgrade lighting, modular classrooms, modernization underway at, of course, Green Acres and Crowley. Custodial and grounds, just a huge shout out to these folks and the pride that they show in making sure our school campuses are ready. I am a former teacher. There's nothing like walking in at the beginning of the year and smelling, right, the wax. And I know people are, what am I talking about? But if you're, trust me, if you're a teacher, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like that feeling when we come in, tree trimming and other sorts of things, right? So our campuses look inviting. And that, you know, is complicated work in the summer, right? Because we did have such a robust summer learning program. It delayed the ability of some of our teams to get in to do some of the work at the school. So we're working through a good problem to have. And then maintenance, of course, exterior paint, portable classrooms. You see some of the great things that division and department and teams did. So business services, again, amazing work by very talented people. So technology, closing out our school year, all of those sorts of things that happen. So business services have been busy rolling over services and systems for the new school year, right? So when our teachers show up, their class lists are there, they're ready to roll on day one. Over 7,000 Chromebooks were collected and prepared for reissue, and we're preparing to distribute new devices to all of our 4th and 9th graders as part of a refresh cycle. The finance team is preparing for the year-end closing process and accounted for nearly 5 million days of attendance and processed over $400 million in payroll and vendor payments. And in case folks may not know, we adopted a district budget, this board's budget, focused on student learning of over $500 million. And I think that's the largest budget to date that was balanced and maintained with an adequate reserve to ensure district solvency and meeting board priorities. Now, of course, our learning and leadership is a new division. And so part of the work they've had this summer is bringing together our area administrators along with our curriculum and instruction leaders into a new division really focused on exactly what it's called, learning and leading. Learning is our core business. And so a lot of work this summer on preparing the curriculum for our summer school. Also, families that maybe they didn't even come to summer school, right? But they want to access books. We have a library, over 14,000 books were circulated during elementary summer school. It's pretty cool that we have that opportunity for families that's open year round. And Tipper from Rawhide, you might have seen some of the tweets about that, went around and visited the schools and talked about the importance of learning. Stay tuned. I hope in a few weeks to be able to announce a partnership and have a back to school night with our baseball partners. So we're working on that as we speak. And then physical education, working on engaging lessons tailored to grade levels. And you see kindergartners, I actually went by a school and that was the lesson they were working on, which was scarves and movement. So great job for all of our team. And so the last part of this report, I want to share just a little bit about an update on my entry plan. And so one of the things that I want to share, of course, the objective was for our community and staff to listen and learn with a new superintendent and get information and input from our community that will help shape our priorities, that will help shape what it means when we say be ready, be present, be successful, and be connected. So we had 5 community forums, 3 staff. We also had online, over 200 people, both in person and online, responded to questions. And so I'm going to share those questions and some of the main themes that came out of that. I do want to say at the beginning of this, I've been asked multiple times, well, is this going to be our only opportunity to speak with the superintendent? And the answer has been a resounding no. We will be continuing opportunities for engagement throughout the school year. That's going to take different forms. There will be advisories that I will have that will be made up of staff, of students, of others. We will have community roundtables, faith roundtables, business roundtable, partner roundtable. And then not to mention, possibly haven't planned all those out yet. There could be town halls. There will be multiple opportunities for the community to continue to be engaged with myself and our district leadership, and of course, our board. So the first question, when a student graduates from Visalia Unified, what experiences should they have? We heard a lot around college and career ready and vocational skills, about being prepared, not just to go to school, right? But the pieces around that make you successful. What does it mean to be prepared to be employed? Life skills around finance, financial literacy, being able to think critically, to budget, to finance, and all of those things that help make you successful and well-rounded, no matter what your path where your path may lead you. What does a welcoming, safe, and secure learning environment look like? We heard a lot around where students feel valued, respected, cared for, where we say welcome to you when you walk onto campus or when you walk in a classroom. Positive relationships, again, where everyone, no matter someone's identity, no matter where they may come from, no matter their beliefs, whatever, that everyone feels welcome and safe and secure on campus. And then of course, the no fear of bullying, violence, those sorts of things, right? Working to create environments that are safe, where you can go to a bathroom and not worry about something happening. All of those are sorts of things that we have heard from our community, and now we take this back and think about how do we make sure that becomes the reality for every student. What does communication look like? So regular communication, we've already begun some of the work in this area with, for example, board highlights the next day. We're going to continue expanding that department and working on how we can communicate with our families. Promotion of school happenings and news. Sometimes I find out great things happening on campus because I see it on Twitter. So that's a disservice to that school, right? How are we getting out the great things that are happening on our campuses? Because there are many great things happening on our campus. And I'll always say, if we're not telling our story, someone else is telling our story for us. And so I've heard that from the community. We're going to continue to work on what does it mean to have proactive communication that's clear and consistent. I do ask for a little bit of time. We've got a lot that we have to develop around that, but we are going to work on it. So what's great in VUSD? How can we improve? Again, caring teachers, great community. Heard a lot about how do we make curriculum and those sorts of things transparent so that parents can access and know what's happening. And so working on that. And you know, I heard a little bit about social and political opinions and how as a school system, we navigate that environment. Of course, that's a reality of the moment we're in. And I always want people to understand our role as an education system is to provide a space for students to have critical conversation. There are classes where there are topics that could be controversial, but there are guidelines and rules as to what an educator can and can't do in those environments. So how we encourage our kids to be consumers of information, to filter through it, and so they can make decisions for themselves and learn what's fact, learn what's fiction. But our job as a school system is not to promote ideologies or other things. Our job as a school system is to make sure our learning environments are supportive, safe, and secure for every student. And we're going to continue to work to educate our staff and educate our community on what that looks like as we go through this year. Heard a lot about VAPA. I mean, amazing. Over 50% of our kids participate in these sorts of things, sports, academy. And of course, our board has invested in a director of VAPA and athletics position so that we can capitalize on the great things that are happening and expand that as part of our One Visalia Connected initiative. And then our facilities, improving our website. I may or may not have heard about that a few times. And then safety protocols and plans. And so obviously part of what we need to improve is continue the conversation around campus safety and security. And so again, you know, all the things that we're talking about, from the Raptor system to uniform practices, to partnering with our Visalia Police Department, all of those things are going to continue. And again, this board saw the need to invest in that. And so now we have a coordinator who is solely focused on campus safety and security, who's going to be able to say to us, here are some things we need to do that might be long-term investments. And then here are some things we can do right away that don't cost anything, like wearing your name badge. So we know that if you're on campus, you're supposed to be there, or that you've signed in through our visitor management system. And then hopes and dreams. This will become part of what our vision and mission and all of those things are when we engage in that work as a board team on the 19th. But being successful, finding potential, feeling connected with a sense of direction, ready to transition into college or life or success, whatever that might look like, right? To be a contributing member to society is what we ultimately want for every one of the students that we have the honor of educating in our system. And so finally, how can we be more transparent, share information, continuous communication, engagement that I just talked about, and being out in the community, meeting people, communicating and listening. And so you are going to see us in schools. You're going to see us in the community this year so that we can fulfill what our community has asked of us to do. And so, board, that concludes Spotlight on Visalia Unified School District. That concludes my report, but Mr. President, I remain available for any questions.
Are there any questions or comments from the board? From the public? Thank you very much. Our next item on the agenda is 2022-2023 back to school update and closure number 2, Superintendent Kirkstrom and Executive Cabinet Team.
Well, thank you again, Mr. President and board members. I'm pleased to open up this report. You're going to hear from each of our executive cabinet members tonight as we talk about our back to school update. And of course, I would forget the exact number of days, but I want to say it's 20 something. I don't know why I just went blank on that number. It's coming quick, but we are going to be ready, and we're going to start communicating and sharing with our community on how they can make sure they're ready. And so one of the things our families are going to see later this week to early next week is the first of our ongoing communication, where we'll share with families, here's what you need to be prepared. Here's our dress code. Here is where you can go to get support if you need help with that. Here's where you're going to find out whose class you're in. Here's where you're going to find out what bus you ride. All of those sorts of things will start to be communicated very quickly. So of course, all that is about helping our families and kids be ready, be present, be successful, and be connected. And the agenda for this report tonight, again, is what it simply says. Each division is going to highlight our preparation and our priorities for the 22-23 school year. Want to draw your attention to priorities for a minute because during the course of a year, a lot of things happen and a lot of things that could cause us to derail or go this way or that way. And then when we do that, we lose momentum, we lose consistency, we lose focus. And sometimes, yes, we have to do some deviation. However, there are certain clear things we have to do this year to strengthen the foundation so that every teacher has what they need to be the most successful they can be, and every student has what they need to be the most successful they can be in class. And that means stating and naming priorities that our teachers can name, that our administrators can name, that our parents know, and then being consistent and staying with that, stick with itness throughout the school year. Because if we do these things and we do these things well, then we're going to see the needle move on the performance of our students. And so I want to begin, of course, with my office, and then I'll turn it over to each executive cabinet member. So in the superintendent's office this year, of course, we're working on implementation of the entry plan, focused on engagement, examining, and visioning, working to align the district organization to focus on student achievement and staff readiness, and investing in the capacity of school and district leaders. As we expect new things from our staff, our district, and our leaders, we can't just expect that. We have to build the pathway to help them reach that expectation. That means investment in training and other opportunities for our staff. And so priorities, you see that as a governance team, we're going to establish district beliefs and commitments. We're going to continue the conversation with the community, engagement opportunities, creation of advisories. We're going to create the conditions at the district level for each school site to be successful. That is the job of the district. And then develop success metrics, right? So that we're able to say, here's what we're driving for with student achievement and other success metrics. Be transparent about that. And then say, hey, here's how we're doing. Here's what we're doing well. And here's where we need to improve. Believe it or not, we are not perfect, but we are going to strive to do that. But we're going to be clear about where we have room for improvement. So I will turn it over now to our brand new Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources and Development, Mr. Ben Dillon.
Thank you, Superintendent Shrum. Good evening, Board. Ben Dillon, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources. So it is my privilege to share with you some of the things that we're doing to prepare to be ready for day one. You can see up on the screen, and I know Mr. Shrum just mentioned a couple of these things, but we are each and every day screening and holding interviews for staff. There's not a day goes by that that's not happening. As part of that, obviously, we're working to schedule ongoing orientation opportunities. So this past week, we held those for our certificated staff, 2 different events. And then every Tuesday, we're holding classified orientations. And then we have a couple kind of large mass group orientations that'll be coming up at the beginning of August for those employees who start on August 10th. So leading up to that, we'll have a couple of big opportunities for those folks. Some of the other things we're working on is obviously crafting, communicating about district and school guidance as it relates to personnel, health and safety policies. Also, we've been working very closely. I know as already mentioned, just some of the exciting things coming in with agreements in place with our labor partners. And so huge thanks to Greg Price and Andrew Sanchez and their teams for helping making that happen and being ready to go into the school year. We've also been working closely with CSEA on a couple of MOUs that allow us to make sure that we have staff coverage to support our students starting the first day of school. And then finally, partnering with our principals and our hiring managers to maximize our hiring practices. It's not one department that's going to make sure that we have the right quality people in place for our students. It really takes all of us. And so that's part of our mission that we're committed to. And then as Superintendent Shrum mentioned, our goal is to keep things clear and really stay focused this year. And so our priorities in human resources going into this school year are number 1, to ensure that all school sites are fully staffed through ongoing recruitment and retention activities. Second, to provide staff support and training using effective, efficient, and equitable human resource development practices. What I mean by that is effective meaning that they work, efficient meaning that they work in a timely manner, and equitable meaning that we provide shared opportunities for all individuals and we create those opportunities for everyone within our system. And then finally, to support healthy and safe climate and culture across our schools in our district. And at this time, I'll pass on to, I think, there we go.
Thank you, Ben. Good evening, Board President Guerrero, board members, Superintendent Shrum. So opportunity, my name is Mark Thompson, Assistant Superintendent of Learning and Leadership. And so for preparations as we prepare for the first days of school is really to prepare our sites, right, and our families. And so first of all, just starting off tomorrow is a great day. I'm really excited. It's going to be a day that we have principals here all day long, and we're preparing and we're focusing and beginning to dial in and provide our clear direction for this upcoming school year. So we're excited to have that, get collaboration going, and really prepare them for what's ahead for them for the school year. Also with that, the areas have been working hard and continue to work on this, making sure we have professional development for teachers for day 1 and day 2, that when they return, that students and family know their schedules and classes in a timely manner. Bell schedules are set and communicated to all stakeholders. We do know there was an update for this school year, as there is a new law out there that high schools will start at 8:30 or later. We will be starting all high schools starting at 8:30 this year. Communication from sites to family about the start of school has been sent, and working on that so they have all the information needed to be well prepared for the first day. And then focusing on all staff at sites know their roles, responsibilities, and ready for active supervision, as Mr. Dillon and his team's working extraordinarily hard to bring on a staff to fill all of our positions. Obviously, when we have new staff, we have to train them and prepare them to be ready. Along with those ramp up, I was sharing you, we have a ramp up day with principals tomorrow. We have scheduled for the next week and a half ramp up days for our counselors, our psychologists, our SPED teams, for our assistant principals that focus primarily on curriculum, assistant principals that focus on proactive discipline and supports. So we want to set that foundation of this is what we're doing. This is our consistency. These are our processes, these are our procedures, but also how do we engage in maybe challenging things that come up so that we're prepared and that we're always professional and taking care of things the right way the first time. Our priorities for this year coming up, and I'm excited about these and really trying to be laser focused on this. We know what's best for all students is quality first instruction, and really digging into that. This opportunity that we have with learning and leadership is to bring curriculum and areas back together and really focus. And then we know at the end of the day, the bread and butter of what we do is quality first instruction, because that's what's best for all kids. Effective PLC teams. We have amazing teachers that are working really hard in professional learning communities is what a PLC is, and just creating some frames for them as well, and being supports along that pathway with them. So that way we can learn from one another. We have amazing teachers. There's amazing thing going on in individual classes. How do we bring it together so that we have it in all classes each and every day? As we all know, we grow stronger and better when we collaborate and work with one another. And then the third thing that we'll be working on is we've been very fortunate here in the last year or two to provide more supports on the sites, meaning counselors, AP supports, those different things. So one of the areas we need to focus on and do is make sure we have effective site leadership teams that are looking at data. So that way we're making sure we're catching all students that need supports, and that we have a consistent way of making sure students' well-being and also academic learning is consistently looked at and addressed. So that's going to be the focus there. Ooh, I think I might have went too far. All right, in curriculum, again, and you're going to see some common themes here, because at the end of the day, curriculum and areas are going to be aligned with each other. Preparation here is what we call the GVC, or the guaranteed viable curriculum, are adoptions used at each grade level, making sure that that's consistent and consistently used. Teachers are using district pacing guides. Again, consistency. Students having necessary materials, and that communication to parents on what adopted materials we're using, that they would have clarity on that. And so we're working on that. Again, this is not about we need to make sure every teacher is on the same page or that. It's not about that. It's about making sure that we're teaching grade level standards every single day, and that our teachers have the tools and the pieces of the puzzle so that they can be effective in what they're doing each and every day. They're not going out to having to go out all over the place to find different things, but that is there for them so they can access it and then use their professional judgment from there to teach that standard the best way possible for the students that are in front of them. The priorities here, again, you're going to see them, they're consistent with the areas priority is quality first instruction and professional learner communities. And so we'll do a lot of our PD and stuff around those things there. And the last group that I'll be highlighting tonight is our instructional technology team, which is a new team that we're building, as well as you guys are aware, Mr. Hamilton's leading that work. Creating links in the VUSD webpage for parent and student portals, again, access points, verify all students and staffs are rostered, making sure that these different programs that we have, like PowerSchool, iReady, Schoology, Google Classroom, they're not helpful if you're not able to get in them. So we got to make sure that people have access and that they're done right and people know how. And so they're working on that. For our site teams, as you guys always know, as we enroll students and go through there, we need to make sure we check and make sure we have all the viable information and that it's correct. So that way we can get the proper communications out. So they'll be working on that, verifying parent and guardian information. So we have all that updated. Our priorities in this group will be is viable and consistent data points on student learning and well-being. This is going to give us a better picture of our successes and also maybe challenges that we need to look at. And that will be something we'll continue to bring to the board. But this is really a team focused on that so we can target in on the areas of growth and also of success. And the second one is instructional technology to develop intentional professional development for all staff with the caveat to improve student learning, right? So what technologies do we see in place that's going to benefit the learning of students and staff so that we become better at teaching the standards and our students are understanding and building off of their learning so that they're ready for college and career readiness? This time I'll hand it off to Mr. Oh, there you are, Mr. DeMayo.
Thank you, sir. Superintendent Schrum, President and board members, thank you so much for allowing me this opportunity to kind of highlight some of the great things that are happening in the Educational Services Division. As my colleagues have previously spoken about, we're really thinking about the totality of what education looks like. And as such, we're thinking about how do each of our divisions support that endeavor. So with that in mind, the Educational Services Division is one that provides those extra supports for students to make sure that they are connected to school. So let's talk a little bit about what that's going to look like. First off, let's start with our special education. One of the things I want to point out about special education is a very fine distinction that I think is going to be critical for us. We need to think of our students as opposed to special ed students, right? They're students who require extra supports, and that's what we want to provide them. So with that said, you'll see that our main focus this year is getting our staff ready to get started. I was happy to be part of a training that took place today. We're bringing our education specialist on board early this year to get them ready for the uniqueness that comes with providing that extra specialized training and attention to those students. They have a whole week's worth of training with us this week. Next week, they're going to be moving into our regular training for our new teachers. And this is for ongoing and new teachers. Super excited about that. We have a really, really wonderful group of professionals that are going to be providing that unique opportunities for our students to be successful. We also are thinking closely about the resources and tools we use. We know that students who require extra supports need things done in a different way, not read to them slower or faster, right? They need it to look different. So we're really thinking about the resources we're giving them and making sure that they have what they need to be successful on day one. The priorities we're going to be working on as we move forward is thinking about ensuring that we're fully staffed. And we know that a big part of educational supports is that classified support. So much of what we do and the great things that occur on a day-to-day basis are because of all the great sets of hands we have on board with us. We're really working hard this year to make sure that we remain fully staffed. Mr. Dillon talked about the special contract groups that we're bringing on board with us that we've partnered with to ensure that our students are well cared for on day one. We're also thinking about that inclusive mindset. And remember, inclusion just doesn't talk about special education. It talks about all children in our system because many of us are parents. We want to make sure that when we drop our kids off at school, those kids are going to be taken care of as they were my own. So the principal hat in me realizes that when I was a principal, I had 800 kids, not just my 2 daughters at home. So it's that mindset set saying that what do these kids need to be successful in any environment? Moving into our Equity and Student Services Division, this is one that is really one that we've worked hard at this year. And again, we're so blessed, folks, to have incredible staff members leading each of these teams. This team is one that Mr. Schrum really saw an opportunity for us to really grow. We know that in the world we're living in today, our students need us in many different ways. And one of the big ways they need us is they need to make sure that when they come to school, they're feeling safe, they're feeling secured, and they have the opportunity to be engaged. It's up to us to make sure we set the conditions. So this team is going to make sure that we do that this year. So we've added staff that are going to provide those new opportunities for them. We're going to make sure that the current staff we have at our sites recognize what that's going to look like, how it's going to look, how we're going to be able to offer support in a way that doesn't take away the unique things that happen at a school site, but comes alongside them. So again, we're thinking of all of our students, right? There's students that go to Redwood, there's students that go to Whitney, there's students that go to Annie Mitchell. They're not students that Mr. Gridiron is going to take on. They're students that he's going to come alongside and support. So what you're going to see is us taking an opportunity this year to take a look at what we have currently that's working and what can we do to strengthen that, to keep going. And with our new staff, how can we add and support that to make sure that it's really where it needs to be? Obviously, that's going to require lots of training and support. And we're going to outline with our principals tomorrow and our assistant principals the day after what that's going to look like, what they can expect, because we want to make sure they feel equipped to do the great things we need them to do for our students. Priorities, we've listed them in 3 separate ways, and you can think of it in safety, systems, and support. We definitely want to make sure that we create safe environments. We do that through systems that are going to be clear and concise for everyone, and we provide the opportunities for support to ensure that those things take place each and every day. Next, we move into our Family and Community Resource Center. Many of you had the opportunity to visit Mr. Sullivan today and his incredible facility. If you haven't had a chance to visit there, I really encourage you. This is something that is truly an asset to the city of Visalia, not just to Visalia Unified School District, but I think what you'll find when you visit there is the opportunities our families have to connect to all the resources in the community. And that's really what we're working hard to do, making sure that our kids and families get everything they need to be successful. Some of the unique things we've done this year is the little saying you see up there, looking cool. We want to make sure that our students are prepared to come back to school. Again, those of you that are parents and even thinking back of your own times, how exciting it was to go back to that first day in your new outfit with your fresh haircut. But how sad it is for those families that don't have the opportunities to do that. So we're coming alongside to partner them to make sure that our students feel really great about what they're talking about. You heard earlier mentioned Mr. Gridiron and his team are setting up that community clothing bank. We're going to be growing that in this division too. So really the job of this group is to kind of create conditions that provide those resources for our families, and then making sure our site staff recognizes what resources are available. So again, we can make sure that all of our students are taken care of. So when they come to school, they feel good, they feel connected. There's no excuses for them not to be successful. In our district, failure is not an option. So how do we make sure we set the conditions for that? And then moving forward, our priorities, just wanted to suggest some of the things that we plan on doing to ensure that the message of the community center is clear and concise to everyone. We're going to do that through communication in different types of fairs, newsletters, and also always taking a look at the budgets, right? We're blessed this year to have lots and lots of funds available, but we want to be good stewards of those resources and make sure that they're being spent in the right way. Mr. Thompson talked earlier about the need to look at data. That certainly will be part of these campaigns as well. And finally, the last section I want to talk to you about is our Extended Learning Opportunity Program. We spoke to you guys about this last year. This is a wonderful new initiative and funding stream that the state of California is offering to us. We're super excited about it. This is going to give us the opportunity to, again, really provide that extra layer of supports for our family. So it's more than just thinking about a longer school day. Again, it's not just about adding more time to the day, it's adding more quality to the day. So we've really thought hard about what that's going to look like. So this division is going to be spending a lot of time engaging with all of our partners, thinking about how do we connect every single child on our campus to something. Is it athletics? Is it VAPA? Is it different activities that are going on campus? Is it different academics they want to do? Whatever it is, we want to make sure we set up those opportunities for them to enjoy that. And as we move through the year, you're going to see us building out this campaign. What could it look like? We're really excited to, 2 days ago, we went through a process to interview and select a new position at each elementary school, which is a library media technician. So now we're going to be able to have our library media facilities open for 9 hours a day as opposed to 5 hours a day. We've added lots of different resources to them to make sure that, again, those students have opportunities to connect to school in many different ways. And next up, I'm going to invite my awesome colleague who's right behind me, Mr. Kerr.
Thanks, Andy. President Guerrero, Mr. Shrum, members of the board, Eric Kerr, operations. So in keeping with our theme tonight, the 5 departments in my division are working on their preparations and priorities for next year, really focusing on being ready on day one and those day-to-day things that are foundational to us. And so I'll talk about those preparations, but then we'll talk about some priorities, which are those items kind of above the normal everyday things that we will work on that we say we have to do this year. So starting out with nutritional services, training is a big part of their work, making sure everybody's trained and ready to go on the first day. The department employees are all in place. The nutrition information and payment system, which is important because nutritional services is very compliance driven. A lot of it is governed by the federal and the state government. And so Regina needs to keep very good records. And so making sure that that information is up to date and the systems are ready to go at all sites. And then the other piece of that is the menu. So not only ordering the right food, making sure that we have enough of the food, but making sure the menus are complete and communicated with the sites so that we can let the families know what the kids are going to eat each day, because that's important. And then meal schedules and projected enrollment information, making sure that that's been received and everybody's on the same page so that we know how many meals we need so that we don't waste. And again, you'll start to see a theme in the priorities, continuing to fill vacancies. That's been a common theme, I think, in all of our divisions. We are working very hard to do that. As some of my colleagues have said, the classified career fair, job fair that we had last week was a resounding success, and Mr. Dillon is working on getting that data. And I think we're going to see some really good things come out of that. The other thing that we're focusing on in nutritional services is there's a lot of money available for replacement of equipment and modernization. So we'll be working on that, planning for this year and the outgoing years to make sure that we have our equipment all up to date. And then to align meal schedules at the sites. So believe it or not, we don't have the same meal schedule at every site. So there's room for a little bit of differentiation between the sites, but we really need to get those kind of lined up. So that is something that we're going to work on in nutritional services. It seems like a small thing, but it's actually pretty important. Next, in transportation, filling the vacant driver positions. Superintendent Shrum mentioned we do have our own training program for drivers. And so they put 10 students through that, potential drivers through that this summer. So we're happy about that. We also have contingencies in place for any positions we have unfilled or any folks that don't come back on day one. We do have all the routes covered. The other system that we're working on is our routing is currently done manually. It's done with Post-it notes and Excel documents. And so believe it or not, we're a district of 30,000 kids and we still don't have up to the date digital routing software. That's going to change, but this will be our last year that we'll be doing that by hand. And so we have kind of backwards planned that so that we have that information available for school sites by noon on the 8th, so that that can be communicated at least a few days before the kids come back, so that parents have at least a pretty good idea what route they're going to be on, and at least a window, at least a 10 or 15 minute window for the bus stops. Next year, that's going to be a different story, but I'll talk about that in a minute. And the bus fleet serviced and ready for the first day. Our maintenance team over in the bus garage does a great job. Our buses are ready to go. And we even had some new special ed buses come in and they have been certified. And so they will be ready to go as well. So again, their priorities, continuing the theme of filling the vacancies. TransFinder, I do want to thank the board for their investment and approving that TransFinder software. That is going to bring us into the 21st century. It does routing for us. It allows us for almost instantaneous changes to routes, to add students, to take students away, to change the routes if there's road construction. It also has, and this, those of you that are parents are going to love this, it has a feature whereas if the bus encounters a delay en route, we press a button and it will send a message to the parents, very much like Amazon says your package is 10 stops away. It will say your bus is going to be delayed 15 minutes, 20 minutes, or whatever. And so we will start that implementation here in the fall as soon as we get kids back. We'll do a pilot in the fall, probably with our special ed department. That's not finalized yet, but we're looking like that probably with special ed. And then we will implement that starting in January of 23 at the semester break. And then really working on proactive and timely communication between sites and families. So making sure that we're not reacting to things, but getting out in front of those messages that we need to get out. Okay, custodial and grounds. So again, as you may recall, right after I took over a little over a year ago, we did combine the custodial and grounds department and put a new director in place. And so they've been working very hard to bring our fields and our curb appeal and our school sites back up to standard. And I think they're doing a great job. They are working very hard on filling vacancies. That's probably our biggest department. The night custodial team alone has about 140 members just on the night crew. And so they're working on filling those vacancies, and our director over there, Jose Llamas, he does a great job with that. Training, he does a lot of cross training. So we have folks that work in grounds maybe, but they need to fill in custodial and vice versa. So he does a lot of cross training with that team. Lots of equipment. You remember in the height of COVID, we had foggers, we had different kinds of vacuums, we had chemicals, we had sprayers, we had all this. So he has to maintain all of that equipment. And then those traveling teams, I think he's up to 14 or 15 traveling teams every night. And so those vans are all loaded up with their equipment. They take that out, they do their route, they clean the school sites, and then they come back and do it again the next day. Making sure all of that is finalized. And then the filters, the air purifiers that are in virtually every room, every classroom, every office, all those filters, believe it or not, are changed in the month of August. So we will start the school year with all new filters. And then we will still be providing on request any personal protective equipment. So masks, hand sanitizer, stuff like that. It will be available on request. There's no current mandates or guidance or anything like that. It will just be available. So if anybody needs it, we'll have it for them. Mentioned kind of the cross training, equipment replacement and preventative maintenance has been a big focus in custodial and grounds. You may have noticed that our fields are looking much better, although not so much late in the summer because of the drought, but really the work that Jose's team has done to get our fields back up to standard, to the curb appeal. He's done a lot of tree trimming. We've taken some trees out of the bend that needed to come down. So he's really working on getting everything back up to standard and then maintaining it. And then again, proactive and timely communication. You're going to see a theme there with my team. Maintenance of facilities, summer projects. So maintenance projects will be done by the 5th. That's that Friday, so that everything is ready to go. I've got a commitment from our director, Michael Doria. There are some facilities projects that obviously are ongoing, so Crowley, Redwoods Gym, Green Acres, those will continue into the year. But we have systems in place to make sure the staff knows where they're going, the principals know what's going on, if we have to move some folks around, all that's been communicated. So that's a big part of their preparation. And then the security plan for all sites. We're continuing with the security plan with the cameras and the access control system that we've put in place at the high schools, going down to the middle schools. And then we're continuing with our planning to take that all the way down to elementaries. So that plan will continue. And again, clear messaging regarding staff, regarding project updates, entry point, safe and single point of entry. And then the long range facilities master plan is another thing that we'll be bringing to you probably in August to select the architect that will complete our long range facilities master plan. They will take demographic data, they'll take information from the county, from the city, from our demographer, from us, our student, and they'll put everything together, and then they will look at all of our sites, and that will kind of help to inform our discussions that we'll have in the fall about boundaries, about school size, about where they should be. Do we need a new school? All those questions that we've already kind of started to talk to the community about. We'll continue that work, and the long range facilities master plan will be a big piece of that. And that's it. Well, that's it for me.
Good evening, President Guerrero and members of the board. Kind of rounding this out with the remaining support services in the district. I'll start with our tech services folks. And they're busy getting ready for the new school year. And some of the preparations have been rolling systems over, getting students ready, getting the systems ready for when students come back and teachers are back in their classrooms. Ensuring that all of our classrooms and our teachers have the equipment necessary to provide, technology is much different in the classroom now than it was, years back. And so it's vital that that is in place and that it's functional on day one when students and staff return. And then that also that our students have their Chromebooks ready to go. So as we talked about, the rollout for refreshing Chromebooks next year, looks like all of our incoming students will have new Chromebooks, and then we'll be replacing Chromebooks for our fourth graders and ninth graders. So all of that has been ordered. It's ready and will be distributed when students return to schools. The priorities for this year around district network security, and uptime, trying to get to that 100% to make sure that the network is available and safe and secure. We will likely have some projects that will happen throughout the year to make sure that we've got recovery plans in place and that we're prepared. Again, keeping our Chromebook Chromebook replacement on cycle. Making sure we've had adequate budget for that. We're placing orders well in advance because we know, as we've seen supply chain issues here lately, that we're going to have to make sure we do things well ahead of when we would normally be required to do it. And then again, just classroom and student technology is working and reliable, and we've got funding in place to make those equipment replacements when they're needed. On the finance and budget and purchasing side, making sure that all of our policies are up to date, procedures, that our budget and finance and payroll folks are ready for start of school, having those things available online on our website. We've got one pagers that have been created so that we've got that available for sites. All of our budgets have been posted, ready for start of school. Our cost centers for our print shop, our catalogs for Amazon and Office Depot are ready. And this week, we're providing some training, not just to principals, but also to our clerical and office staff. So they're familiar with how to use the Tyler finance system and make orders and get those things done. Our priorities for this year, always every year, maintaining a balanced budget and maintaining district solvency. And this year's budget, it looks like that's not going to be a challenge for us. We'll bring back a 45-day revision to the board next month, so we can see all of the changes from our adopted budget to the state's adopted budget. Again, making sure that staff have access to that training for our finance system, and working with Mr. Hamilton's team on doing some regular trainings each month. And then again, making sure that our financial policies are up to date and available for staff as they have questions. So that concludes my portion of tonight's report. Mr. Shrum, I'll return that back to you.
Thank you, Mr. President and Board. That concludes our report, but we remain available should there be any questions.
Are there any questions or comments from the board? It's a lot of information. Okay, any questions or comments from the public? Okay, so we'll move on with our agenda. Thank you very much. Information only. Our next item on the agenda is general public comment. General public comment on any school-related topic may be heard at this time. The board asks that any public comment on an item listed on tonight's agenda be addressed at that time the item comes up for discussion by the board. Pursuant to board policy, the board may limit individual comments to no more than 3 minutes and individual topics to 20 minutes. It is recommended you begin your comments by stating your name. Any public comment? Nothing, Delia? Okay, we'll move on to our next item on the agenda. The next item on the agenda is consent agenda. So would any board member like to pull an item?
I'd like to pull enclosure number 13.
Okay, Ms. Snyder is pulling enclosure number 13.
And I will pull enclosure number 3.
And you'll pull enclosure number 3. Any other board member, would you like to pull an item? If not, is there a motion for the balance of the agenda?
I'll motion. I'll second.
Casper Soleno motions, second by Ms. Blair. All in favor? Oh, you got computer now, the iPad. It's yours.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. It's an adjustment, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right, so why don't we start with enclosure number 3, warrant list.
Yes, to avoid any perception of a perceived conflict of interest, I have a sibling who is employed with somebody who does business with the district, and therefore I'll be abstaining from the warrant list.
Okay, would a board member like to make a motion?
I'll motion.
Motion by Casper Soleno,
Second.
second by Ms. Gaby. All in favor?
Motion carries 6, 1 abstention.
Okay, our next item would be enclosure number 13. Ms. Naylor.
Yeah, just to avoid any appearance of a conflict of interest, I am going to recuse myself from voting on this item.
Okay, can I get a motion on this by another board member?
I'll motion. I'll second.
Casper Soleno motion, second by Ms. Blair. All in favor?
Motion carries 6, 1 extension.
Our next item on the agenda is board member reports requests. Can we start with Mr. Villegas?
Sure, thank you. I had the pleasure of going to a few of our summer school sites prior to this meeting. So I got the opportunity to go to Riverway Elementary, and that was really exciting. Some of our students there were on the health and nutrition track, learning more about, healthy foods, environments, physical education. And one of the coolest things I saw was a class of 4th graders that were very eager to show me these public service announcements, these PSAs that they created themselves with their Chromebooks, with their phones. And it was just really great to see these kids using technology, collaborating with one another, really being excited about learning. I also got to go to El Diamante High School and, tour the campus and also learn about our students, not only, earning credits for remediation, but also acceleration. So really glad our students have that opportunity, especially our incoming freshmen, a lot of them taking health. And so thank you to all of our teachers and staff members, working over the summer to make sure our students have those opportunities. That being said, I wanted to also reiterate, us as a board and as a district moving forward with aligning not just math, but really I would personally like to see aligning our graduation standards with A through G. I love seeing the photo of, our students at Visalia that got to go to Fresno State, right? And so not just giving them the idea that, this is a possibility, absolutely instilling that in their mind, but also letting them know that these are going to be the requirements to get you there. And so I hope that we as a board can come together around that to increase number of our students that are college and career ready. And finally, one request that I have moving forward is I would like to see on one of our agendas, if not next month and certainly in September, I'd like to see our board discuss and ultimately vote on a resolution on Proposition 28, which will be coming forth on our ballot in November. And this proposition has to do with increasing visual and performing arts funding throughout the state. And so giving board members time to read about this, and to learn about this. It's something that I think is much needed. It's something that will happen without increasing taxes. And I think, we'll also prioritize that funding for students in low income schools. And so I absolutely am a personal supporter, and I would like to, engage in discussion with my fellow board members and hopefully ultimately vote in a supportive resolution to support Prop 28 and let our community members to hopefully support it as well. And that concludes my board member report.
Thank you. Ms. Blair.
Well, I got to go visit Goshen Elementary today. They were having a back to school special thing that was done actually hosted by Goshen Community Church, which is a partner that they have. And it was actually really well attended. I got to be a part of watching some of the there was Kiwanis Club giving out books there, and Family Community Resource Center was there kind of helping, give parents, just helping them understand what they do and the different resources that are available to them. There were lots of kids. They got to eat lunch. They did quite a few things there. So that was a great a really great event that they had this morning. I also got to go visit Music Man, which is a TICO play. They did amazing. And we had several students, VUSD students that were a part of that just did amazing. So that's all.
Okay, Ms. Katie Spears Soleno.
Yeah, I am looking forward to the start of school. It's the first year in, I think, 3 years, the first fall, that we're going to be starting with kind of no protocols in place. So I'm really looking forward to that. But what I wanted to say was, I know that we talked a lot about communication with parents. My request would be, parents haven't been able to go on campus for the first day in a while to walk their kids to the door, or, I mean, I obviously know high schoolers want nothing to do with that. But for our elementary school folks, maybe just making sure that we let parents know that they can walk their students, or whatever the different sites are going to allow, so that even first and second grade parents at this point will not have had that experience. So making sure that we get that out to them. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Naylor.
Yeah, thank you for that, because I think that's important that we allow our parents on campus. I attended the State of Tulare County along with Board Member Gaby and Board Member Gamoyen and Blair. It was just a nice event. Supervisor Larry McCarty and Board Member, President Guerrero was there also. And Amy Shucklian was there. It was just nice to see how the county is doing, what their plans are. So it's important for us to know that as a school board, so that we can make plans on how that affects our school district. Also, Board Member Gaby and I both attended the Tulare County School Boards Association, and we're gearing up to put on a workshop that is about optimizing parent involvement for our administrators here in Tulare County.
Thank you. Ms. Gaby.
Yes, so again, I attended a few of those with Board Member Naylor, and yes, mostly it was nice to see people coming together. I think several of these things we kind of wish we had in place prior to pandemic, when we were all wondering what to do. And coming out of that, I think one of the things we're learning is that we want to be networked together. So the School Boards Association and some other avenues like that, so that we can kind of best practices for our kids in Tulare County. Other than that, yes, I look forward to, we have a study session coming up in a couple Fridays from now, and really that long range facilities master plan. I know some of our elementary schools are, just pushing probably 1,000 kids almost right now. And then we have other ones that, are at 300 and 400. And I know there's some definitely smart people out there that can give us some plans and some ideas about how to maximize all of that and kind of use them all to their full ability. And then I guess kind of circling back, I did have a question. So on our priorities, is that something then like mid-year or at the end of the year that we keep circling back to kind of see how those goes? Or I didn't know if that's something we can kind of discuss at the study session. So aside from that, look forward to school starting. And can you tell my sixth graders that I can walk them to class and that would be okay? Because I think they're thinking like the high school. Yeah.
Ms. Gamonian.
First, I'd like to thank all the staff and all the community members that went to the engagements with Superintendent Schrum. Just want to thank you for that, for being involved. At the state of Tulare County, it seemed that there's a lot of economic growth, a lot of businesses that are coming. I think we're going to end up with 4 Dutch Bros. A lot of economic growth, but not necessarily, because I asked a question about, does that mean more people coming to our city? And the 2 supervisors, it was Larry McCarty and Amy Shucklian, they were like, doesn't mean more people necessarily. And all these jobs are for our people in Tulare County. I did go to the Family and Community Engagement Partner Fair. It was wonderful. Lots of services for our foster and homeless youth, which I really have a heart for. Parenting classes, crisis intervention, mental health surveys. services. So we have a lot of services available for our kids. I think the most wonderful thing that I got over there, I love the first day of school almost as much as I love Christmas. And I was so excited about, because our principals were there. They are so excited and hopeful. There is just hope abounding all through our district. They are so excited for the first day of school. And they're going to be ready for your kids, and they're excited to be with your kids on the first day of school.
Good, thank you. I don't have a report tonight. I've been on vacation. So what I do want to say is this, is that, school's starting. And I think the board here, Ms. Casper Solano, what she mentioned, that's it's very true. Our kids have been out for 2 years. And hopefully we get back to some normalcy there in terms of school starting and whatnot. I think it's exciting to see the staff that's in place and everybody out there. So I'm looking forward to that day. I'll probably stand by a fence and look and see what's going on. I don't want to get in the way. So anyway, I'll pass it on to our superintendent.
Well, thank you. I did write down from that, let the parents in. So we'll certainly work on making sure that is, for those kids that do want their parent to walk them, and then those that don't, you can follow behind them. But I do think we want to make sure our parents do feel welcome back on campus. But also all that to say, we are gearing up to have the best first day ever here in VUSD. And you heard tonight from all of our departments and divisions, all of the focus on ensuring that's successful. Not only again, so that we're ready for the first day, but that we're ready every day, that we're successful every day, that we're present every day. And then our One Visalia Connected initiative, which will be kicking off this year, is really about building the system so that every kid is connected to something meaningful, whether that be within the school system or utilizing our many external partners that we have or will develop as we go through this year. And that's really going to be a focus, because we know that if kids are connected, whether it be to a mentor, a sport, a art, whatever it might be, that they do better in school, they feel better about themselves, and they have better attendance. And so there's not much of a better effort I can think of to unite the community around making sure all our kids are connected. So I look forward to sharing more about that as we go through the year, and you'll hear more from our parents. Can expect communication from our school district again, all as we get ready for that best first day ever. So that concludes my report. I think I shared quite a bit earlier, so I'll spare everyone.
Staff dismissal. Our next item on the agenda is enclosure number 27, recommended suspended expulsions. Is there a motion?
Sorry, I'll motion.
Second.
Motion by Casper Solano, second by Ms. Nader. All in favor?
Motion carries 7-0.
Our next
love
item is
this.
recommended reinstatements, enclosure number 28. Is there a
I'll motion.
Motion by Ms. Casper Solano,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Gaby. All in favor?
Motion carries 7-0.
So our next item on the agenda is the annual report on Measure A for the year ending June 30th, 2021, enclosure number 29. Presenter Eric Kerr, Chief Operations Officer, and Nick Macia, Bond Oversight Committee Chair.
Good evening again, President Guerrero, Superintendent Schrum, members of the board, Eric Kerr, Chief Operations Officer. We're bringing to you tonight the annual report for Measure A as reported by our Bond Oversight Committee. So I would like to introduce Bond Oversight Committee Chair, Nick Macia.
Thank you, Eric. Good evening, board members, Superintendent Schrum. Tonight, I'm here to present to you the annual report for the Bond Oversight Committee. As you recall, in 2018, the voters authorized roughly $105 million in bond spending. However, we've only issued $35 million to date. Currently, there are 8 members on the board, or on the committee, I should say. that's down a little bit. So we're looking for some volunteers that can be presented to the board to recruit some members to help us make some decisions and review some of the spending. If you look specifically at the fiscal year 2021, we've spent roughly $3 million on various projects. Those projects include modernization of 3 middle schools and not specifically construction. Some of them are in different phases. Design is currently for Divisadero, Green Acres, Valley Oak. And then also we've spent money on the Mount Whitney High School gym and HVAC. And then there's also the site security that's been doing district-wide. In addition, the annual report also includes the review of the annual audit, which I believe was also approved and presented to the board. So in conclusion, the committee is here to submit the report for your consideration. I don't think there's any action, but it's just here to report back that everything has been identified and kosher. I'll be here to answer any questions if you have anything.
Are there any questions or comments for Mr. Messia or Mr. Kerr?
I
Is
have
it
a
an action?
question.
It says no action. I know.
Is it an action item?
No.
No, I
No,
didn't think
yeah.
so. Okay. My question is, how are you going to recruit new members?
That's a great question. I think if we can utilize or piggyback some of the efforts that Superintendent Schrum has identified in engaging the community, we've actually gone out and tried to recruit some of the local construction firms or designers and those the individuals who participate specifically into the facilities committee. If we can pull some of them in, I think that's what we need. The key is meeting one of those 8 requirements. That's the key, is finding those individuals that can fit the bill, because it is a state requirement.
Any other questions or comments?
Sorry, the 8 requirements, are they in this packet?
I believe it's on the,
Yeah, they're here.
actually, correct. It's on the report itself. There's
I see like the parent of child
Yep.
enrolled, the parent. Got it.
an at-large and active in the PTA, a
Mhm.
chairperson. Correct.
Any other questions or comments? With that, thank you for the report.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was information only. We'll move on to our next item on the agenda, modification to classified management salary schedule effective July 1, 2022. Enclosure number 30, Mr. Nathan Hernandez, Chief Business Officer.
Good evening, President Guerrero, members of the board, and Superintendent Schrum. On June 28th, the board approved the salary schedule for all management and employees, and included in that was the classified management salary schedule. Tonight's item is a modification to that salary schedule. And it includes a position that was missing from the salary schedule. The pension systems now require that all positions be listed on a board approved salary schedule. So as positions are added or new positions are added, we'll have to bring this item back to the board in the future. So this is just for that one position though. And that is all I have to say about that.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Motion. Oh,
I make a motion to adopt and approve the modification to the classified salary schedule for the fiscal year 2022-23 retroactive to July 1st, 2022.
Second.
Second.
Yeah.
Okay, motion by Ms. Gaby, second by Ms. Naylor, all in favor?
Motion carries 7-0.
Our next item on the agenda, thank you. Our next item on the agenda is notice of intent to employ certificated personnel and approval of variable term waiver requests for bilingual cross-cultural language and academic development, enclosure 31. Mr. Ben Dillon.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Board President Guerrero, Superintendent Schrum, members of the board. So I just have 2 folks that I'm bringing to you. Both we are moving forward for the variable term waiver. They both are, their credentials are in place, but they just need time to complete the bilingual authorization. And both these folks working within our dual immersion programming. So obviously that's a critical component of that.
I motion. Motion to
Motion by
approve.
Ms. Naylor,
Second.
second by Ms. Case Soleno, all in favor?
Motion carries 7-0.
Our next item on the agenda is notice of intent to employ certificated personnel and approval of variable term waiver requests for speech language pathologists. And closure number 32, Dillon, HRD.
Thank you. So we have two folks here. One has actually been with us for 1 year. The other is a new hire to us. Just need some additional time to complete their credential program, both working towards that preliminary credential. The first one, who's been with us 1 year, has this additional year, so it's well within the time frame that she has allocated. But again, just working on getting that in place.
Is
I'll
there a
motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, who motioned?
I did.
Catalina.
Okay, Ms. Blair, second by Mr. Villegas, all in favor?
Jackie, you're gonna vote. Motion carries 7-0.
Mr. Dillon, you're next again. Notice of intent to employ certificate of personnel and approval of provisional internship permit request and closure number 33.
All right. You're gonna have too much of me here. Here we go. So again, we have 3 amazing folks who we're bringing into our district. Each of these folks are working on their provisional internship permit or a PIP, as we typically refer to it. Again, just need time to become intern eligible, but we're excited to have them on board should you approve.
Okay, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
That was Ms. Gaby, right? Ms. Gaby, Mr. Villegas, second, all in favor?
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank
There
you
are
very
no more
much.
items. Thank you. There are no more items on our agenda. This meeting is adjourned.